on the weekend of 25th May, when the TRP Amusement and Theme Park was bustling with people enjoying a summer vacation outing, a massive fire broke out in the gaming zone. It has claimed the lives of at least 33 people, including children. The fire seems to have been started by sparks from a welding machine that landed on piles of inflammable material stored at the facility. What is infuriating about this incident is the sheer negligence. The facility did not have a fire NOC. Even the fire safety equipment present was not sufficient to take control when the fire actually erupted. Gujarat High Court has called this a man-made disaster. The special bench of the Gujarat High Court also noted that such gaming zones and recreation facilities have come up without the necessary approvals from competent authorities. They have wrapped the civic bodies in this case as well. After the devastating blaze, 2 arrests have been made so far. Yuvraj Singh Solanki, a partner in the Raceway enterprise which operated the TRP game zone, and the entertainment facilities manager Nitin Jain have both been arrested on the charges of culpable homicide. FIRs have also been registered against 6 other people for culpable homicide not amounting to murder. However, several lives have been lost by the sheer negligence of those who were running this facility as well as the civic bodies. What really are the lessons, if any, that India learns today? We take this conversation forward with Himanshu Bhatt, senior journalist. We also have with us Ellen Rao, former cop with us. I have with me Captain Jaydev Joshi, disaster expert, also with us. And we have Sudhir Rawal, consulting editor of the ITV network, also joining us on the broadcast. Let me begin the conversation, if I can, with Mr. Himanshu Bhatt. Mr. Bhatt, I'd just like to understand from you, as far as the details of this particular case are now concerned, every day there is a new angle to the negligence that comes forward. This is not the first fire that has broken out in the country. There have been several cases where we've had laborers who get stuck in facilities where they're sometimes locked from outside overnight by their employers, and the facility catches fire, and you realize that just like that, so many lives are lost. What lessons are we then learning from what has happened? And while the people who were running the facility really need to now be nabbed and investigated, why is it that civic bodies or MLAs and MPs and state governments are not then considered as answerable? Why is the outrage only restricted to people who were running the facility?
I'll tell you one thing. First, let me tell you something. Today, we have received the CCTV footage of how fire started. And you know something? It was a high tension line which was giving sparks near the air conditioner. And that sparks were falling down on the foam and the rubber stuff that was lying down. From there, the fire emanated. And within few minutes, it engulfed the whole facility. The reason for that was, number one, there were no entry and exit separate things. There was only one door for entry as well as exit. And this gaming zone had hundreds of liters of diesel, petrol, tires, foams, combustible material, and inflammable material and all those things. When such things are there, there is always a recipe for disaster. And to top everything, it was running from last 4 years. Can you imagine? On one side, on the first day, initial day, a municipal commissioner comes up and says, the area on Kalawad Road, which is called the Kalawad Road, where this whole gaming zone is located, area falls within Rajkot Municipal Corporation. But since it is a temporary structure, it is not cement concrete structure, a temporary structure, we do not have any proper plans or designs of the structure which has been built. The structure is built of what, Tins.
Yes.
And when the structure is built of tin, there is nothing. Still, you need to have a fire safety. Since 4 years, they have not obtained any fire safety, fire safety certificates. It is obvious that had it not unfortunate incident happened, it could have gone on. And how does it happen? It's only when the fire department looks on the other side and the gaming goes on. Like this, if you check today, now the next day, after the horses have fled, they are trying to lock the stable. They have banned every gaming zone. And most of them do not have fire safety.
Yes.
What was found was on the next day, some fire safety equipment was found lying there. But it cost them 25, 28, 30 lives. And the best part of it is, this again happened. I'll tell you one thing. In 2019, in Surat, where I reside, we had a Takshashila Kand. There was a tuition class on the 3rd or 4th floor. Similarly, tires and other things, the sparks came and the fire started. The boys had to jump from 4th floor, and so many of them died. Some died due to fire and some died due to that. After that, before the Vidhan Sabha election, we had, Morbi Bridge, hanging
Yes.
bridge. There again, in trying to make a few bucks, someone allowed 10 times the capacity of the bridge for, tourists to go there. The whole thing collapsed. See, such things are happening repeatedly, one after another. In last 5 years, we have had 3 huge fire-related accidents.
Yes.
And who is responsible for that? See, number one, it's a civic body, a fire safety department. Today you have suspended, a ground level employee who is a fire officer of that fire station. Will it serve the purpose? It will not. The answerable people are first the mayor of the city and the municipal commissioner of the city.
Yes.
Why is it that such a gaming zone which charges 400 bucks for an entry has so much of inflammable material there running without fire safety? Why for 4 years nobody looked at that? It is obvious that for 4 years people were getting their things paid. I'll put it very bluntly here. Civic authorities were receiving something and turning their
Absolutely.
blind eye.
It's
And that is what is
impossible that this was running without the civic bodies ever having inspected the facility.
No, they've inspected, but after that they've turned their eye on the other side. Because in Gujarati, what we say, vyavhar thai gayo. The dealings had taken place. Let me tell you that, see, court comes out and says, that this is a man-made. Yes, we all of us know it's a man-made disaster. But what are you doing about it?
Right, absolutely. I want to bring in Mr. Sudhir Raval as well. Mr. Raval, like I said, several arrests have now been made by the cops, the people who were running the facility, several others within the facility who were also operating on a daily basis. They've all been arrested, FIRs have been lodged, but what about those within the civic body?
It's something very sad and shocking. As Himanshu Bhai explained some of the reasons, the root cause is something different. गुजरात के अंदर ये पिछले 5 साल के अंदर we have lost more than 3,200 lives. ये जो इस टाइप की घटनाएं हैं, इवेंट इसमें मेनली फायर सेफ्टी ये सब का ही रीजन होता है. We have lost more than 140 people in मोरबी, बड़ौदा में 22 लोग हमने गवाए. ये सब जो मैन मेड ट्रेजेडी है. तो रूट कॉज ये है कि गुजरात का जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है बिल्कुल लेथरजेटिक है. गवर्नमेंट इज रनिंग ऑन पेपर ओनली. ठीक एक के बाद एक इंसिडेंट होता जा रहा है, लेकिन फायर सेफ्टी नॉर्म्स जो होते हैं वो कोई भी इंप्लीमेंटेशन होता नहीं है. आज यहाँ ये हो गया, ये घटनाएं जो इंफॉर्मेशन बाहर आती है वहां ट्रेजेडी होने के बाद लोगों के पास आती है, फिर 2-4 अफसरों को सस्पेंड किया जाता है, किसी को जेल में जाता है, वो फिर छूट जाता है और सेम टू सेम चलते हैं. लेकिन रूट लेवल पर जो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होना चाहिए, जो रेमेडी होनी चाहिए वो नहीं होती है। रेमेडी क्या है? रेमेडी ये है कि यहाँ जितनी भी पब्लिक प्लेस है, मॉल है, ये सब जगह सेफ्टी मेजर का कोई भी जितने भी नॉर्म से वो इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं किया जाता है। हर जगह जैसे आप हिमांशु भाई ने कहा डीजल पेट्रोल ये सब पड़े, लिफ्ट के अंदर भी ऐसे होता है, जो जरूरत से ज्यादा लोगों को क्राउड इकट्ठा होता है, कोई ध्यान नहीं देता है। गुजरात के अंदर बिल्कुल लोगों तो कॉमर्शियल माइंड है, लेकिन सेंसेशनल वाइब्रेंट कहते हैं, लेकिन सेंसेशनल जो होती है एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को कहीं भी नहीं है। आज की तारीख में जरूरत यह है, कोई 2-4 सस्पेंड की जरूरत नहीं है। आज की तारीख में अगर ऐसी दुर्घटना वापस नहीं हो तो गवर्नमेंट को विदाउट एनी डिले ये करना चाहिए कि जितने भी उसके लाइसेंस किए वो आज का आज कैंसिल करके नॉट रिन्यू, फिर से एक बार सब कुछ अप्रूवल के नॉर्म के आधार पर करना चाहिए। तब तक पहले सब एक्टिविटी रुक गए, क्योंकि हर जगह एक एक शहर में छोटे छोटे कस्बे में पब्लिक प्लेसेस बहुत है, गेमिंग जोन बहुत है, वहां हर जगह ये सेफ्टी का प्रॉब्लम है। और सिविक बॉडी को हो या मैं तो हिमांशु भाई भले कमिश्नर कहते हैं, मैं कहता हूँ चीफ मिनिस्टर तक से लेकर नीचे सबकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है। दे कैन नॉट एस्केप फ्रॉम एनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, एंड इवन इफ IAS इज सिटिंग इन द चेयर, ही मस्ट बॉदर अबाउट ईच एंड एवरी लाइफ। तो यहाँ होता ही नहीं। ये घटना मीडिया में 2-4-5 दिन रहेगी, कुछ कोर्ट में चल जाएगी, 2-4 सस्पेंड हो जाएगा, लेकिन ये दूसरी घटना वापस हो जाएगी। अभी आज की तारीख में गवर्नमेंट के लेवल पर जो पॉलिटिकल विल होनी चाहिए कि ऐसा अभी नहीं होना चाहिए, वो नहीं है, कभी भी नहीं है। और मुझे लगता है कि ऐसी घटनाएं हमें अगर रुकानी है तो काफी गवर्नमेंट को सीरियस होकर फायर सेफ्टी नॉर्म, जहां कोई भी इंप्लीमेंटेशन नहीं होता है, कुछ भी नहीं होता है, जो प्राइवेट पार्टी के अंदर MOU होता है लेकिन उसका रिव्यू नहीं है, मॉनिटरिंग नहीं है, फिर छोटे मोटे करने से क्या फर्क पड़ता है?
Absolutely.
See, it's something very bad.
And I want to bring in Mr. Ellen Rao as well. Mr. Rao, as both of the panelists have also pointed out, see, the thing is that today it's a fire that has caused this particular tragedy in Rajkot. We've also seen other incidents, as Himanshu Bhatt was pointing out. There was a Morbi bridge collapse. Just a few days back, there was an illegal holding in Maharashtra's Ghatkopar, which fell on people and claimed lives. It really shows, Mr. Rao, that in most of these cases, in Morbi Bridge, the people who were given the contract, who were responsible for the upkeep of the bridge, were the ones who were booked, and the FIR was against them. We don't know what the status of that case is and whether any serious action was actually taken against those people. Similarly, as far as the Ghatkopar hoarding collapse is concerned, the owner, who had a criminal antecedent, he was also arrested. Once again, we do not know who others were involved and what really became the status of that case. Similarly, here as well, in Rajkot, we see that once the incident happens, and as Mr. Rawal was pointing out, it stays in the media for a few days, and we do feel really agitated and riled up for those few days, but nobody really asks. Yes, the people operating are, of course, the first ones who are responsible. But in all of these cases, one has to understand that none of this is happening without the knowledge of the civic bodies, that there are agents of the civic bodies who are on rounds for inspection, and clearly they are indulged in corruption, which is resulting in the loss of lives across India in all of these cases. What really then becomes the scope of making sure that some sort of an example is set as far as civic body role and responsibility and accountability is concerned?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening to you, everywhere, and your viewers. We Indians, as well as our government and the officials, what you claim the official civic authorities, we have very short memory to remember these incidents. You have enumerated so many incidents, but I think on each and every the important incident, the inquiry was set up, the inquiry committee, the inquiry report came. In so many of the incidents, there some commission was also instituted, and the commission inquiry was there. But none of the commission's inquiry or none of the inquiry findings have been implemented to the logical conclusion. And main thing is that they had roles which is on the ground level. People are being rolled out, not on the serious level, unless and until that senior officers of the civic authorities or whosoever is concerned, that senior officers will be tightened, their neck will be tightened, then these things will not be going to amend in future. So we must, the government must, and the administration also must see to this that such incident, if these are to be stopped, and these some people and the owners of these properties and owners of these incidents are to be stopped, then definitely there should be some strictness in the action. Only registering an FIR and after that they will be bailed out. You also have mentioned so many incidents, and I will also that it's about 2-3 years there was a fire, big fire in Afghanistan near Philistan Cinema in Delhi. There so many people were killed in that incident also. There was a big fire, and now everybody has forgotten. The Upahar tragedy is very well known to everyone, but in that case also, I think that we need to be very serious about such incidents, because at least so many lives, innocent lives have gone. So many innocent people who have lost their life, and their relatives are be repenting at how this happened. Only at the lethargic and the apathy of the civic bodies, and they are not doing their duties. They should be learnt. They should be learnt a lesson by taking serious action against the senior level officers, and that the implementations of the inquiry report, whichever is there, whichever recommendations are there, there should be implemented to the between the lines. There should not be any laxity on that. And once the orders are being passed, they should be implemented, and a strict action should be taken. Strict, not only strict, that exemplary action, so that people should not dare in future to be lethargic or to
but
be
at the same time,
irresponsible.
Mr. Rao, what do you think? But
duty.
Mr. Rao, the courts also intervene always, and the courts say that they're telling the civic authorities, were you sleeping for the past 4 years when this gaming zone was operating? All of this is said. But has there ever been a case in the past where, like you said, any sort of exemplary action has been taken against people from government, against people who are literally brought to power to look after the people of a particular state? And why do we stop short at the civic authorities? Why not look at people at the higher level, as Mr. Rawal was also pointing out, that it's why is it fair for the civic authority to then take a fall? What about the other ministers of the state, the MLA of the area, the MP of the area?
Sure. You are very right about it. I'm not going to only the officers of the civic authorities that concern the public representatives in whose area. And even if we talk about Delhi, all these things are being promoted under the nose of this MCD and municipal corporator, and the MLAs are really, they are also aware of all these things. And what you have spoken about the court, that is very correct. The courts are very serious about all these things, but courts are also have their limitations. They can only pass orders. The implementation of orders is to be done by the ground level officers, by the civic authorities, by the representatives of the people. Then that the court can, and also I must tell you that courts are overburdened with the work, so they are unable to monitor what they have done in the past. So all this to be taken into consideration in a consolidated form, not in an isolated. That everybody has to be very serious about it, and they should feel the responsibilities. Maybe it's a corporator, maybe it's a legislative officer, or the civic authorities, or even the police. Police is also because they have to look after. They have their ground level officers, they have beat officers, division officers. They also see what is being done in their area. If these are all illegal things, and then there is no fire safety norms are there, then the fire brigade officers,
yes,
if they are informed about it, and that NOC should not be given to such type of such type of establishments, so that such things should not reoccur in future. And only is that we should be very serious, all of us. It's not it's a consolidated efforts of everyone
yes,
among us, that we should be very serious, and so that no such incident in future can reoccur.
Okay, Mr. Jaydev Joshi, bringing you into the conversation, I just want to understand from you, in such in such cases, why do you think that there is an overall apathy as far as citizen outrage is also concerned in these sort of cases? Because as the other panelists have also pointed out, yes, it will be in the news for, say, the next few days, and once the news cycle changes, the news changes. Why is it that citizens of India also forget? How is it that we are not able to demand any action beyond if the media stops reporting it, that's it? That's the end of the story.
That's exactly where I would like to come in, Ms. Devika. Firstly, a note of sympathy to all those families who are affected by this man-made disaster. Also, compliment to media houses like you, anchors like you, and NewsX, I'll borrow the word that you said at the start of this bulletin, the discussion. You said, okay, what are the lessons learned? And we need to learn lessons. I, as a disaster management, disaster response expert, with the experience of having handled disasters at many places, I'll just like to bring in some insights which will answer your question. First and foremost, like all the panelists have said, and I'll not dwell more upon it, is there is a need to relook at the rules. Strict rules and its regular monitoring. Rules are there, but then people try to tweak it. The regular monitoring does not happen, number one. Number two, on the part of this establishment owners, there is an utter disregard towards any expenditure made towards safety, security, and disaster management. A community which is business-minded, a place which is business-minded and only money-minded, any expenditure going in for disaster management is ideally, it should be taken as an investment. If not as an investment, it should be taken as an expenditure. But here, it is taken as a wasteful expenditure, foolishness also to that extent. Number three, from the community's part, we also go into this repetitive chain every time. We go repentive every time, oh, what happened? We also had one of the lawmakers there in this very incident, smiling about it, laughing about it. What can I do in this? Speaking in this vernacular language, he said that. More than that, the entire community seems to have resigned to the fate. Rather, we should be demanding. Don't we demand comments, stars, and ratings for hotels that we go and stay into, for movies that we go and see? Why can't we ask for, as a community, disaster star rating for any facility that we go into? Lastly, the entire community needs to build a disaster response preparedness. How often do we do disaster management drills? Leave all the disasters which are man-made. How many earthquake drills do we do? How many natural disaster drills do we do as compared to other South Asian nations? If we start doing it, maybe we'll be better prepared to handle disasters like this. And disaster mock drill doesn't only mean, a fire drill doesn't only mean that you open the fire cylinder. Incident commander, which in all cases in India is the highest civic and the political authority. The highest civic authority, that person is made the incident commander. From incident commander to right till downwards, all roles are defined, but they stay in books. We need to put them on ground. We need to be more disaster resilient and more disaster response ready.
But Mr. Jaydev, I just want to understand from you as well.
Yep.
You're talking about relooking at the rules and making sure that there is proper implementation. You've also raised a very good point about how investment in security is actually seen as a wasteful expenditure, because that's, you're so money-minded after a certain point that you're thinking every last penny that I can save here and there, and which eventually ends up being saving money as far as putting up safety equipment is concerned. This is not the first facility where we've seen a lack of safety equipment has resulted in a huge tragedy of over 20 people losing their lives. But I just want to understand, there is then a psychological problem as well with society at large which needs to be addressed, and we here really struggle in the media to understand how to address that psychological problem, because clearly there is a lack of respect for life. That is where it stems from. The fact that people within the civic bodies who are responsible for conducting some sort of a search, like I said, there is no way this facility was running without people having inspected it and realizing that there is a potential disaster waiting to happen in this place. But they will take in a few pennies, some money to keep their mouths shut about it, to make sure that the reports are passed with flying colors. How do we change that? Because this is the systemic problem we're facing today in India. You know, when these small incidents happen, you think, okay, this was just about, a lot of people say, oh, 30 people here, 50 people there. Mr. Sudhir Rawal has just pointed out that within the past few years, over 3,000 people have lost their lives in these sort of incidents, where a bridge is collapsing, some building is catching fire, something else is happening somewhere else, a hoarding is collapsing. In all of these preventable incidents, when you look at the larger figure, over 3,000 people killed for absolutely no reason except apathy all across, starting from the business owner to the very last person who is responsible for making sure that those facilities are safe. So coming back to the point, Mr. Jaidev, how do we address this very serious psychological problem in India? Just because we are too many of us, there really seems like there is a lack of respect and appreciation for each and every life.
That's a very good point that you have brought in. But it has to be a collective effort. Just look at India a few years back. We were not so well versed, or maybe I'll say well prepared, or more looking to address the issue of cleanliness in India. An entire movement was run, and are we now not more cleanliness aware in the nation now? Maybe yes, we are. But that psychological shift has to happen, and that has to be led right from the front. The lawmakers to start with. Number two, the implementing authorities, the municipal commissioners and downwards, everybody, they all need to set in place a system wherein no establishment is able to run their business until they do not pass a quarterly, if I may suggest, a quarterly safety and disaster check. Can't we do that? Yes, we can do that. Then also the society, we all as society, everybody knew it. This place was so vast. I know the place here, that place was so vast, right amidst the residential area, and also of the former governor of one of the states who now resides in Rajkot. He has said it, okay, how can a place like this be running in a residential complex, and how can a commercial activity happen in a residential complex? We all saw it, but we never said, okay, it could be a recipe for disaster. The people at large, we all also will have to take it very seriously that disaster is the big thing. Maybe no, there are other panelists who are wanting to bring in other points. So I'll just leave it at that. Okay, when everybody fails by nobody doing it, then everybody suffers. So it's between this. Anybody could have done it. Somebody should have done it, but they didn't do it. And that's why everybody is suffering. So if we take it at that, then maybe I leave it up for the other panelists to come into it. A psychological paradigm shift is what is required in the country and the society as of now.
Okay, I'm going to bring in, leave the last, I have a minute or so left. I'll leave 30 seconds with Himanshu Bhatt, please.
See, what I wanted to say was, it's a systemic problem. Psychological shift of paradigm, fine. It's a systemic problem. From where does this authorities come? They also come from the same society.
Yes.
They are also a part of it. So it's a systemic problem ingrained in us. Let me tell you very frankly, in 10 years we have changed. As he said, Safai Swachhata, yes, we have carried out campaigns. We are more cleaner than what we were 10 years ago. I'll look at it that way, and I'll put it that way. Some change has to be done, and that change comes up not by shaking, by setting an example. And in one of the incidents, there has to be some courage on the part of the higher administration of the state to take the bull by its horn and set an example.
But Himanshu, but
that
the problem is
if you dare to do this, this will happen to you.
But Himanshu, who really has the courage to do that? Because the moment an incident like this happens, everybody's trying to everyone's trying to save themselves, right?
Everyone is trying to save themselves, but in Gujarat we can do it. See, there's a one-way government. They have to take the bull by its horn, and they have to say categorically, this far and no further. Unless they do it, if they might be on their own, I'm not becoming political here.
Yes.
All I am saying is, there's a government of a party with a huge mandate. And if that government doesn't have the courage, in this democracy, who will have the courage? They will have to show the courage and take a decision which is right for the future generation and for future.
Sudhir
That's
Raval,
what.
okay, Sudhir Raval, leaving the last word to you, 30 seconds. Do you think that the current government then does have the courage to take any sort of action? Because we've seen, and you yourself have pointed out the sort of incidents that have taken place in Gujarat. We've not seen any exemplary action in any of those cases.
One of the reasons what we have not discussed is this is political stability. More political stability is also one of the dangerous points, Himanshu. I tell you, these people are so majority, heavy majority, and that is why they are not sincere and they are careless, I should say, without stealing any word. Because if they are serious in administration, they would have done so many things. I want to say last sentence. Actually, there was a day when Lal Bahadur Shastri, as a railway minister, he had resigned in case of one rail accident. And now we are not worried about all, even of 3,176. That is the exact figure Gujarat has lost in man-made tragedy during the last 5 years. See, even after this, Gujarat administration is sincere and thinking something serious, not to see those periods again. So they can do it. Where there is a will, there is a way. If they are again lethargy and their political will is not there, we will be unfortunate to see another episode also.
Absolutely.
This is not very sad.
And Gujarat happens to be, of course, the state of the Prime Minister himself. This perhaps would be the right moment to actually set that exemplary action that all the panelists are also seeking now from the state and its authorities. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. We leave it there.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.